So my mom would like an outdoor bench, and what I did, I went and I bought 8 pieces of redwood that are 2x4s at 10 feet long. And we are going to see if we can build it in one day and get it to her, and hopefully she'll love it, huh?
I love it.
Do you think she'll love it?
Yeah.
I hope she loves it. We'll see. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
1, 2, 3, come on!
This project cost me less than $100 total, and I started by using 8 pieces of redwood that were, let's see, they were 2x4s, but at 10 feet lengths. And I started by taking those pieces to my chop saw and cutting a majority of the pieces before assembly. This is what I've got cut out so far. Basically, I have 2 pieces that are 24 inches long for the front legs. I got 2 pieces that are 32.5 inches long for the back legs. And then I have got 19-inch pieces, 2 of them for the armrests. And then there are 3 pieces that are 55 inches long. One will be for the top of the back support, and then the other 2 are to make the frame for the seating area. And then I have got 16.5-inch pieces that are going to also make up the framework for the seating area. And then last, the 13.5-inch piece will be the center support for that seating area support. I assembled the framework for the seating area first by taking the 16.5-inch pieces and pre-drilling on both sides of the wood as shown here, and those would act as the side pieces, and I would attach those to 2 of the 55-inch long pieces, which I said 55 inches, but they are actually going to be 52 inches, and I'll explain why in a little bit. I pre-drilled all of the holes, and then I also used wood glue, and I made sure to square everything up before attaching and used 2.5-inch long screws to screw everything together. The center support is the 13.5-inch piece that I had as well. Okay, so I have got the framework done for the seating part of the bench. And originally I had cut my boards at 55 inches, but I actually want the total length to be 55 inches, and I didn't account for these side pieces going on this side. So I had to subtract my 1.5 inches plus my 1.5 inches on the other side, so 3 inches. So these are actually 52 inches long. They are not 55 inches long. And now I am going to cut the 4 2x4s that are going to sit on the top for the seating part of the bench, and those are each going to be 55 inches long because those are going to come all the way to the end. For the slats, I started the same process with all the slats, and I pre-drilled on the outer edges as well as for that center support on the framework. I pre-drilled and I glued and screwed again with 2.5-inch screws down into it. I made sure to do the front and the back piece first, and then I spaced out the 2 center slats evenly to allow for the drainage and wood movement since this was going to be outdoors. Also, whoops, let's make sure the glue cap is on, shall we, next time? Okay, so I just finished the seating part of the bench. You'll see that I went ahead and I just screwed the edges into the center support, and I did the 2 outside pieces first and then just spaced the 2 middle pieces evenly. And now it's time to attach the legs. So let me show you what that's gonna look like. So in the diagram, you'll see that they have the legs 13 inches from the bottom of the support to the floor. So I am going to cut my legs at those lengths and get those screwed in. I started with the front two legs, which again were cut at 24 inches, and I measured 13 inches from the bottom, marked a line, and lined that up with the bottom of the framework of the seating part. I went ahead and clamped those pieces together, checked for square. I countersunk some screws into there, took it apart, glued it, and reassembled it. I followed the same process with both those front legs, and then moved on to the back legs. I just wanted to mention as well that for the glue, I did use an outdoor rated glue, and I would recommend doing that so that you will have long lasting joints and the weather will be able to withstand it. For the back legs, I decided to cut a 13-inch scrap piece to clamp to my 32.5-inch back leg, and use this basically to line up the back leg so that it would be even with the front leg so that it would sit level. And I did the same process with the other side of the bench back leg as well. Now it was time to move it down and give it a little test sit. Ooh, that's lovely. And then I went and I grabbed my other 55-inch piece that I had cut beforehand and put it on the top to make sure it would fit. Now for the slats that go on the back of the bench, it was a little more difficult. The plans called for 1x4s, and I just had the 2x4s, and I didn't want to use any extra wood. So I used what I had, and I measured the center of those boards. We ripped them down on the table saw. You obviously can get your own 1x4s. And then I took those pieces and I cut out 6 pieces that were each 16 inches long. Now you can choose to attach these slats however you'd like. The plans recommend doing pocket holes. I just happen to have a biscuit jointer, and that is what I chose to use. I'm sorry about the angle. I didn't realize my camera wasn't really pointing over there, but here I am using the biscuit joiner, and I'm basically spacing out the slats on the top piece of the back support, and I'm cutting all of my slats so that they will fit into that top piece. The top piece was also attached via the biscuit jointer, and I made sure to use clamps to keep that in place while the glue dried. Then I pre-drilled the bottom of all of these slats, and I glued all of those biscuits into the top support piece, and then I screwed them to the base framework at the bottom, as shown here. The last part of the build was to attach the armrests, and I did that by countersinking those holes as well, and I used a level to make sure that I was lined up square. I then glued and screwed those into place. Now the build part is over, and it's time to do the finishing touches. You'll be able to see here my process for plugging all of the screws so that they won't show. First, I put a little bit glue in the holes, and I just take dowels and I hammer them into those holes and let it dry. Once those are dry, you can take a flat saw, or I have an oscillating saw that I use to cut those dowels flush with the board. The dowels are cut, you can go ahead and take a sander and sand those flush so that they're nice and smooth. After all of my holes were filled, I went and gave the whole bench a good sanding. Finally, it was time to apply the finish to my bench. I did 2 coats of a weatherproof sealer, and it really brought out the wood grain in this redwood, and it turned out beautiful.
I love how this bench turned out. This is the bench that my mom had chosen, and it uses minimal tools. And again, it cost me less than $100 and took about 6 hours to build. I hope you guys like it too, and it motivates you to build something on your own. Again, I appreciate your support. Please comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.